Well, ladies and gentlemen, today I want to talk to you about dirty movies. And no, not that kind of dirty movie. The dirty movies I want to talk to you about are the sewer line variety. And the reason for this is since returning home from Arizona back in early January, I've had 3 people reach out to me and express to me that they were told that their sewer line was good for 3 to 5 years when they had their inspection. And not one of those sewer lines for those 3 people lasted 365 days. Now, you all know why these types of things are happening. Defects being marginalized, helping realtors sell houses, etc., etc. And today I'm going to educate you guys so that this can't happen to you. Now, I'm not going to use the 3 people that contacted me and expressed to me what had happened to them. I'm not going to use their situations. I'm going to use 3 of my own to educate you guys. So like I said, this can't happen to you guys anymore. So let's head back to the office and let's get into her. All right, guys, first up, we have an incident here where I did an inspection for a client in late November of 2025. During the sewer line inspection, in the no corrode portion of the pipe, I encountered what was a ruptured blister or a hole in the line. I'm going to pop that still frame image up there now. As you can see there is a large hole in the bottom of the pipe, and on the side there that actually looks like maybe some tree roots coming through. Anyways, likely a blister that ruptured, and the hole in the line renders it in need of replacement. Now, these no corrode lines, they had a 50-year lifespan on them. They can also be referred to as Orangeburg pipe. It is a bituminous fibrous pipe. It's essentially, in layman's terms, a very thick tar that is molded into the shape of a pipe. And it was the solution to the corrosion problem of cast iron sewer line piping. Now, here in my home jurisdiction of Moose Jaw, they were generally speaking installed in the late 1940s up until about the late 1960s, and they were given a 50-year lifespan. Some of them didn't even last that long, but they were given a 50-year lifespan on them, which means that there is not a single one here in my home jurisdiction of Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, that isn't past its typical life. Now, most of these lines have a defect in them, and as soon as you see a defect in them, because they're past their typical life cycle, it is immediate replacement. Have I encountered the odd no corrode line that is in perfect conditions, no defects, no blisters, no ovaling? Sure, but it's very, very rare. So just keep in mind that these no corrode lines, they're all past their typical life cycle. Any sort of defect in them is going to render them in need of a replacement. So I had recommended that this be referred off to a sewer line replacement contractor to develop a quote for replacement. I ended up taking off to Arizona for 6 weeks. And while I was away, the seller decided to get it cleaned and re-inspected. It was, that's fine, a second opinion. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you guys remember in the still frame image, I'm going to pop that back up there again. Look at the inside color of that pipe. It's black, and that's what no corrode is. The inside of the pipe will be black like that. So this cleaning company came in, cleaned the line, re-inspected it, and provided us with a video. Now, that video got texted to me while I was down in Arizona, and when I watched it, I said to my client, I don't even think that's the same sewer line, because we're missing the no corrode portion. So I'm going to show you guys that video now. Pay attention to the color of the inside of the pipe. You'll know it's orange and rusty color, and that's the cast iron. Okay guys, so you've seen the video there. The camera head was obviously a little dirty. The image quality wasn't great on that, but you could definitely tell that the inside of that pipe was orangey rust color, and that was the cast iron portion of that line. So my client and I, we were talking on the phone while I was down in Arizona. I said, listen, just hold off on the purchase of this place. When I get back, I'll rescope it for you. We'll figure this out. So I came back from Arizona, rescoped the line, and sure enough, at the exact same location where I had called out the hole in the line and the no corrode portion of that line, look what we found. I'm gonna pop that image up there now. As you can see, that's actually fungus growing through the hole. And so what ended up happening is they cleaned the line, and for whatever reason, we're not sure, they didn't scope the entire line, and they missed the hole that was in the no corrode portion. Were they helping sell? Possibly. Do I think that maybe more so they made a mistake and didn't realize that there was more sewer line to scope. I'm going to lean towards that on this particular one. Most times I would lean more towards helping sell the property, keeping realtors, keeping sellers happy, that sort of thing. But I think I'm going to lean more towards a mistake on this contractor's part. I think this is a good juncture actually to disclose something to you guys and to clarify. Real Estate Uncovered, this series that I've created, is not talking about perfection. It's not talking about making mistakes. We're all human beings. Nobody's perfect. We're going to make mistakes, and therefore mistakes are forgivable. Real Estate Uncovered is talking about and covering the intent. In fact, better described as the nefarious intent of the real estate professionals that I have seen taking advantage of clients. And that's the difference here. We're not talking about perfection or mistakes. We're talking about nefarious intent. So anyways, to sum this one up here, this line ended up having to be replaced. Somebody made a mistake. It could have been a big mistake that cost $25,000. But anyways, my client, reached out to me, and it was a good thing he did. We got this solved. And what we can take away from this particular incident, guys, is second opinions and third opinions. There's nothing wrong with them. It's always good for the first individual who calls out the defect to review any further videos taken after that, because they were the first one to call it out. So if you guys are in a situation where a home inspector or somebody calls out a defect and then multiple other opinions come along, have that first person review that video for you guys. Okay guys, incident number 2. I did this inspection in early 2025, so approximately a year ago. What ended up happening on this property is there was a previous offer before I showed up to do an inspection for my client. A week before that, there was an offer made by somebody else. That individual didn't want a home inspection, but they wanted the sewer line scoped. So they went with just a company that does cleanings and inspections on sewer lines. And that individual told these buyers that the sewer line was in great condition, no problems. It turned out that financing actually fell through for these buyers, and they ended up having to back out of the deal, so it didn't matter. Fast forward a week, my client made an offer on this property, got me to do a full home inspection, and fortunately for them, they were smart enough to get the sewer line re-inspected, even though they were told it was scoped a week prior and it was deemed serviceable and in great condition. They got me to do another sewer line scope anyways. And when I scoped that line, the no corrode portion had an offset. I'm going to pop that image up there now. Now this isn't a great image, but you can see in this image, you can see there's a really good side-to-side offset, and you can see there's tree roots penetrating on the left-hand side of that offset. Now, again, this is a no corrode line. It has passed its typical life cycle. And it's also got a bad offset, and there's tree roots coming through, which means the line is compromised. This line needs to be replaced. So what happened here? Well, I thought about this for quite some time, and not only is there the possibility of helping sell, but for a company that does just cleanings and inspections, there is motive for a company like that to say a line is good, just keep getting it cleaned so that they can extract more money out of a homeowner, right? Whereas if they said that get it replaced, right? If they come out and say, no, the line needs to be replaced, they're not going to get any more money for cleanings, because the line will get replaced and it will never need another cleaning for years and years and years. Whereas if they say, no, it's okay, just keep getting it cleaned every year to 18 months, that puts more money in their pocket. So I think there was definitely some nefarious behavior on the part of the first sewer line inspection individual. A defect like this doesn't happen in 7 days. Is it possible to happen in a 7-day period? Sure, but the likeliness would be like 0.00001%. It would be so low. It's likely not possible. This defect was here the week prior to me showing up and should have been called out, but it wasn't. Now, what really pissed the seller off on this was on the second offer, they got chiseled on the purchase price. Obviously, they were under the impression that the sewer line was great, so they got chiseled initially on the purchase price, and then I came in and did an inspection and deemed that this line needed replaced. We even got a second opinion, and the second opinion said, yeah, this needs to be replaced. And they got chiseled even more on their offer because of this defect. And so they were upset, at the first individual, because if the first individual just would have called it out, they would have been able to make an insurance claim, replace the sewer line, and then they wouldn't have got chiseled so much on the purchase price for the second buyer. So what can we take away from this? Well, be careful out there, guys. There's people out there that have motives that are not always in favor of you guys, the buyer, and even sometimes the seller. Okay, guys, lastly, I have an incident that involved a family member. In fact, it was my brother. I don't have any images for you because I obviously wasn't the one that did the inspection, but it was my brother's house. However, my brother owned this house for about 13, 14 years. And the last 5 years that he owned it, because I knew it was a no-corrode line, and obviously because I have the sewer line inspection gear, I was scoping it every 8 to 12 months to keep an eye on it for him. And like I said, it was a no-corrode line. There were blisters in it. There was some ovaling in the pipe. There were some truths penetrating through. Anyways, I've been keeping an eye on it for about 5 years. So when he went to sell the house, he chose his own realtor. I spoke with the realtor because my brother works out of town, and so I was kind of handling all the legwork on that side of things, allowing the realtor access to the property. When the realtor came over to do the listing, I gave the realtor a heads up and said, hey, don't be surprised if this sewer line gets called out. I said, I've been scoping it quite often, and there's definitely some defects in it. It's a no-corrode line. As we all know in real estate, these things are past their typical life cycle. So these buyers come along, and they obviously chose an inspector, and this individual came in. And I had suspicions about this individual helping sell houses, but I didn't actually have any proof. However, this individual came in, scoped that sewer line, and literally told them that this no-corrode sewer line that had defects in it was good for 3 to 5 years. This caused the realtors to be a little bit alarmed because they know me, and I already made them aware that I had been keeping an eye on it. And so what they did is they took that inspector's video down to a sewer line replacement contractor here in town, and that sewer line replacement contractor said there's literally a hole in the line. It needs to be replaced. And so I got my proof on this individual. I know that this particular individual that I didn't have proof on, I know this individual helped sell houses. So guys, what can we sum up about this sewer line stuff, especially when it comes to this no-corrode? This no-corrode stuff is well past its typical life cycle. They will likely have numerous defects in them, and when they do, they need to be replaced. On top of that, there is no such thing as 3 to 5 years left on a sewer line. If you guys are out there and you hear that, you know right away just to ignore it, because there's only 2 things you should hear from an inspector or a sewer line company that specializes in that same thing. When they're doing your sewer line scope, they should either be saying the line is serviceable with no visible defects, or there is a blockage that requires a cleaning and a re-inspect, or there are defects that are causing this line to be replaced. Those are the only options. There is no 3 to 5 years. So if you guys are out there and you hear that garbage, ignore it, get a second opinion, fire that first inspector or whoever you hired to do that, and find somebody else. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed today's episode. As always, knowledge is power, and we'll see you on the next one.